Well, here we go. It's Minnesota Bound, the podcast, the stories behind the stories. Hey there, I'm Bill Sherck, the man about the woods, host of Minnesota Bound. And alongside me today, the man with the ultimate beard, our director of photography, Aaron Achtenberg. Hey, buddy.
Hey, too bad you can't see a beard on a podcast, but
it just kind of like drips down your face and runs down between your belly and the recording table. Epic. Aaron is known everywhere we go. He is iconic to the Minnesota Bound brand because he's the big guy carrying the camera and everyone goes, whoa, nice beard. How long did that take?
This is 2 years right now.
Man.
So
with a few trims here or there.
Some people say, wow, that's it. And I go, that's it. You grow a beard for 2 years.
Right. Alongside us also is engineer Brandon, also sporting the beard. And then there's me, the guy who looks like the beard painter ran out of paint.
I'm trying. It's coming.
So welcome to the podcast. The whole point of this project is to talk about the stories behind the stories, right? It's funny. We'll sit out at the state fair and I'll talk to thousands of people, it feels like. And they're always asking us questions about, what about this? What about that? And in some ways, that's the whole idea of this podcast, is to talk about the stories, the things that happen, the adventures we run into. And you're like a glutton for punishment. The very first day Aaron and I worked together was just a day or two after 9/11. It was your first day. We were back in news at this point. This was before we were part of Ron Share Productions, and you and I went down and documented the environment before the very first Twins game. Man, that was stressful.
Yes, it was very stressful. It was my first, it was like my second day
on the job.
And nobody wanted to work with me. They said, hey, who wants to work with the new guy? And it was crickets in the room. So there was Bill, raised his hand. He's like, yeah, I'll take the new guy.
And so we went down to the Twins game. It was very stressful. Everyone was on edge. And that was the start of a long legacy. We've been together for like 18 years.
Well, yeah.
Something like that. It's funny, too. The very last story you and I covered together on television news was North Long Lake up in Brainerd. It's like 38 below zero, and there's a big hole in the lake. And everyone's debating, is it aliens? Did a meteorite bomb the lake? Is it carp? So we shoot that story on a weekend. We drive home. At that point, cell phones weren't quite as robust as they are now, so you'd have to get back to your home territory. I drive home, my phone lights up. By about the sixth message, I realize I've been fired or laid off from KSTP TV in the Twin Cities. And the next day, I'm sitting in a conference room with you.
So wait, were you not in the meeting?
No.
When they told us all that we had been laid off?
I think we shot that story on like a Saturday. And then you go to work on Monday.
Well, they called us all in. They called us and said,
I was ice fishing.
To, I think it was like 17 of us or whatever it was, said, please be at a first Monday of the new year, said, please be at a meeting in the conference room Monday morning. So we all kind of knew it was coming.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So I get back from Brainerd, go to the office the next day, and we're in all these job development meetings, right? I'm sitting in a room full of people I don't even like particularly.
Well, not anymore, for sure.
and you know, they're talking about, well, you could go back to welding school. You could become a nursing assistant. And I'm just like, what is happening to my life? And then all of a sudden I hear a phone ring, right? In the middle of this cold room. And you stand up and go, oh, pardon me, I need to step out. You step out, you come back in.
Yep, gather up all my stuff and leave.
So sorry, gotta go. Who was on the phone?
Well, that was, I can't remember who. I think it was Steve Plummer, who worked for Ron Shera at the time. Can't remember who I talked to, but my chief photographer at KSTP had given them my name and said, "Hey, maybe you should interview this guy. I know you have an opening." So they called, and I went over there as fast as I could.
And became now the director of photography at Ron Sherck Productions for all the television shows.
I started here January 17th, I think it was January 17th,
Wow.
2003, so 17 years ago.
Meanwhile, nobody wanted to hire me, and I was not going to become a welder, so I did some freelance media work. Remember the show World News Tonight? So I was freelancing for them. I decided I was going to get out of television, so I interviewed to go to Buca di Beppo to be a talking head, a media yak for a pasta company. Thankfully, I said no to that job and came to work alongside you. And here we are.
I put in a few good words for you. So
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And now, now you're a glutton for punishment because we go on all these adventures and you've got to haul on camera gear. I'm so sorry.
It's what I do. I mean, I may complain about it at the time, hauling heavy gear, going out in the cold, doing these horrible things. But horrible. But when you're done, there's like a sense of accomplishment, and you did something cool. You told a cool story, and you overcame difficult conditions to do it. And when you do something like that, I don't know, it's just, there's some sort of satisfaction. Maybe there's something wrong with me. But.
All because you want to document a beautiful story for the Minnesota Bound audience. When he says horrible, by the way, I can clarify. I can tell you exactly what he's pointing to. The first time I convinced you to go out on a winter camping shoot, we hiked 7 miles back into the Boundary Waters, pulling 120-pound sleds, which at face value isn't horrible. It might be borderline awful.
That was pretty horrible.
But we got about a quarter of a mile back into the bush, and we were breaking trail in 3.5 feet of snow.
Yeah. And trying to document it as well. So not just doing it, but stopping, pulling camera gear out of bags, setting up tripods. I'm trying to hike off the trail to get some shots, which was a really bad idea because the snow just got deeper and deeper. So we'll talk more about that episode down the road. But specifically, I wanted you here today because of a little magic we found. And it's something called the Douglas County Forest, which is a county in far northwestern Wisconsin. So it butts up against Duluth and Superior. And I had somebody refer to it as the poor man's Boundary Waters. The point being, if you live in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, instead of driving 5 or 5.5 hours to get to the Boundary Waters, a couple hours you're in Douglas County. Dwayne and Margot Loddick, who owns Snow Trekker Tents, which is a winter canvas tent company. They're in Solon Springs, and we went over to shoot with them for a show called Made for the Outdoors, where we see how your favorite outdoor gear gets made. And they said, well, we're going to take you out for the night to experience a snow trekker. And they took us out to the Douglas County Forest. And here we were 10 minutes from their house in Solon Springs, buried in the middle of nowhere. And I said, I am going to come back here someday, set up a camp, and do a bird hunt. And that's what you got roped into this fall. And that's what we did. It is out there. It is massive. It feels like you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It's when you talk about it in numbers, the Douglas County Forest is 280,000 acres of county forest land. My brain's not big enough. I can never figure out what that means. But we left the asphalt and we drove 6 miles down a 2-rut dirt logging road to a dead end, found a little opening, and set up camp.
Yeah. We got there. It was beautiful. I mean, the skies were clear. It was warmish for a fall day. It's, one of the perks of this job is every once in a while there are those moments you get to a location and you just get out of the vehicle and you forget about deadlines and the hustle and bustle and paying bills and all that stuff. You step out and you just go, we're here. And that's what it felt like that night. It was just spectacular. Looked around to set up look for a spot to set up the tent, and it was quiet, and it was, got the camera out, got a few shots of how pretty it was, the warm sun, which is not how the trip ended, but
more to come. Stand by. Keep listening. The point of this week in Minnesota Bound, we have a story about Douglas County, and it is based on our trip with Dwayne and Margot Loddick for the winter overnight out there. You and I right now are talking about our follow-up. We decided to go back and shoot a bird hunt to see if there were any grouse and woodcock in these woods. And it's funny because I didn't want to do it blindly. So I started sniffing around like, is there somebody who covets this forest and goes every fall? And sure enough, dots connect, and Rich Wissink, who is an old friend of ours from Pheasants Forever, such a great conservation organization. It's funny, he's a pheasant guy, but he loves grouse camp, and they've been grouse camping there for 30 years, he and his buddy Grizz. So we kind of set up next to their camp. They weren't in camp yet. They were coming the next morning. So you and I had that evening to just sit under the stars next to a campfire. And it's one of those moments that changes you because we heard something.
Yes, we did. Something I had never heard before. I've been in the woods many places in the state.
All over the world.
Well, all over Minnesota, a few places in Wisconsin, all over the world. But we heard wolves howling.
Yep. Crackle of the fire, not an ounce of wind, and that soft.
That kind of sounds like a ghost, but
I thought you were going to say a goat.
But yeah, it's hard to make imitate. It's hard to imitate that call because it's just so unique and haunting, and the way it echoes through the trees and
haunting, but angelic almost.
Yeah.
Right. We were sitting and we could hear. It sounded to me like there were two wolves. One was over your back. It's hard to tell if they're a quarter mile away or 2 miles away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the next, hour, we just heard them continue, and they sort of moved around our camp. Meanwhile, the stars are screaming at us. I'm a bit of an astronomy geek, so I'm counting satellites flying overhead, right? And yeah, it was just a great night.
Yeah, it was
a great night. And here's what's interesting about the Douglas County Forest. That county actively promotes the resource. They want people to come and camp. A permit to camp anywhere in the county forest, anywhere. You don't have to go to slot number 37 at the regional park. You go out into the woods, find a spot, and set up your camp. It is a $35 permit, and you can camp there up to 10 days. That's amazing. And there is nothing around. There are a few lakes. There are never-ending woods. The reason it's sustainable and the reason we wanted to go for bird hunting is they are actively logging. It's not like we could hear logging trucks, but we drove 10 miles down the road, and we had found an active logging site, and that helps pay for the resource. The county makes money off that logging, as I understand it, but it also creates unbelievable bird habitat for grouse and woodcock because you've got regrowth, early successional species, poplar, birch, things like that. We walked with Rich and the Grizz into some birdie-looking haunts, and I think we beat you up that day.
Yeah, well, the amount of birds we saw that day was amazing, but as you said, I'm a glutton for punishment. Filming grouse and woodcock hunts are especially punishing because you're trying to haul a camera,
which is how heavy?
It's not terribly heavy. It's 10, 12 pounds with a backpack that's 3 to 5 more pounds. But it's not the weight. It's just trying to get through a thick forest. There's not trails. Right. I mean, we walk some trails, but when a dog goes on point 150 yards to your left, it's just thick, nasty woods. and I'm trying to protect the camera. So instead of protecting my face, I'm protecting the camera, and I'm getting smacked in the face, and my headphones are getting yanked out of my ear, and the sticks are getting caught in my beard. And it's just, it's not always fun. That's for sure.
No, it's a ton of work, but you have this unbelievable ability to get in there and document these flushes, which is like what we want to do. That's part of our storytelling pride. That is what we want people to sit at home and go, that is such a cool sound. Look at where they are. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful bird.
Yeah. Well, and you have to get close if you want to get shots of them, because if you're 20 feet away, there's going to be so much woods in front of you, and the birds are so small, especially in the case of woodcock, that you're not going to see anything. So if you're not close, you're not getting anything. So you got to get close.
A little bit more about the birds quickly. Woodcock are a migrating shorebird. They're a shorebird. They've got long legs, a big round body, and a tiny long little beak. They were, God created them so they could dig their beaks down into the dirt and pull out worms. And they were a shorebird that at one point in history got lost and ended up in the woods, and they stayed. They migrate. They're small birds, but they are plentiful and tasty and a great bird to chase. Everyone's in the woods because they want to see grouse. Grouse are bigger. They are smart birds. They are beautiful and
delicious.
Delicious if you can actually knock one down. Absolutely. That day, I think we were at like 51 flushes for woodcock and 16 for grouse. Now, that doesn't mean we have that many birds in our backpacks. You're shooting for a limit of birds, but I think, between Rich, Grizz, and myself, we had 9 woodcock and 2 or 3 grouse, which made for an unbelievable meal around the fire.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be so upset because I'm going to give away my new favorite, best, most awesome bird recipe, which they were pitching the whole trip like, oh, I can't wait to show you this recipe. You're thinking, oh my gosh, what are they doing? And celery salt.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it. They put a little celery salt on the drumsticks and the breasts.
They did a little more than, it was more than a little. They soaked them in celery salt brine and then grilled them, dousing them with celery salt.
So it's 2 parts celery salt, 1 part bird meat.
Oh, so good.
Brandon's like, man, that sounds amazing. I'm in.
Woodcock is not wouldn't be considered by most people the most delicious bird. Like grouse, everyone considers it delicious. Yep. Woodcock, it's a dark meat. It's kind of on the livery side, I would say. People make pate out of it, but if it's cooked right, which it was really good.
And all because we have access to this public resource. This is not a pay-to-play hunt sort of place. It's open for you and me. Like tax dollars pay for this stuff, and we get to use it. And I go back, again, this week's episode of Minnesota Bound, we've got a story about the Douglas County Woods because it is a public resource. And I love getting out into the woods. But as a family, the Shercks, we don't camp in site number 23 at a state park. It's just not our choice, right? Because I grew up camping in very remote spots. And this gives you that opportunity. A couple of notes about the Douglas County Forest. Again, 280,000 acres. They have the camping permits, but I thought this was pretty cool. They also offer permits for gathering boughs or bows, right? So if you're decorating for Christmas, you can go out into the forest and cut pine boughs, right, to take home. They have permits for Christmas trees. You can go and cut your Christmas tree instead of going to the Boy Scout lot up on the corner and walking through the slush under the bright lights. You can go back into the woods and pick a tree with a permit. You can cut firewood. And again, you can camp back there. You don't need a permit to hunt. You just need Wisconsin licenses. But truly an amazing resource. And again, from where I live here in the Twin Cities, it's just a couple hours versus spending a day to drive to a very remote place like the Boundary Waters.
Yeah. There weren't as many lakes that I saw.
Yeah, there
And
are
more. There's a few. It's more swampy, but so the Boundary Waters. I don't know that it's a perfect comparison.
No, but the point is getting away from civilization.
You feel
going
like
to
you're
lakes
away.
versus woods.
Yeah.
You really feel like you are away.
Yes,
especially when the wolves are around. So our hunt will eventually air in Minnesota Bound, but coming up in 2020, you'll actually be able to see that in a half an hour episode of our national show called The Flush. And I'm not going to give away the end of the story because normally that's the best part. But our weather changed. We had 50-degree, calm, sunny bluebird skies to hunt in October. The trip didn't end that way.
not even close.
Very effective tease. Let's just leave it at that. You'll have to tune in for the episode. Meantime, check out Minnesota Bound this week, where we have our story about Douglas County forest during the winter months and some of the winter camping opportunities. Aaron will be a regular contributor to the Minnesota Bound Story Behind the Stories podcast because your brain is full of stories. You have literally been darn near to every corner of our planet to shoot television stories for Ron Sherck Productions.
Yeah, I've been pretty lucky for sure.
Most far away place you've ever gone?
Well, South Africa was pretty far away. That took a long time, but India, Indonesia, China, and that's obviously not all for Minnesota Bound, but some of the other projects we work on.
Yeah.
But I've been a lot of out of the way places.
Always lugging the big camera and documenting beautiful pictures and unbelievable sounds and stories about people. It's what we do. We're kind of story geeks. We love telling stories.
Yep. Documenting stories. We love doing it. We love finding stories to shoot, shooting stories. You love writing. I love editing. We love sharing people's stories.
And it all started with Ron Sherck and Minnesota Bound, and notably, that is one of the longest running locally produced television shows out there. And I don't think it's by accident. It's because people have been telling stories since cavemen sat around fires, right?
Yep.
Sounds like you and me in the Douglas County forest. Me want more meat. Pass.
And it's Minnesota Bound airs Sunday nights on KARE 11. And it's Sunday night. It's the end of the weekend for a lot of I know Sunday's first day of the week, but it's kind of the end of the week before the busy work week starts. And it's like, I think it's like bedtime stories for grown-ups, that you get to wind down and just listen to good stories about people's passion in the outdoors. And I think Minnesota, it wouldn't work everywhere, but Minnesota it works because people love the outdoors here. And we get to be a part of it, which is cool.
I'm going to have you back in a couple of weeks. We'll sit down again in the Minnesota Bound podcast global headquarters here because I want to talk about the winter trip we referenced up front. I have an awful love of going out at 30 below zero and camping off the grid, and you somehow keep raising your hand saying, I guess I'll do it.
I think it's, like everyone else steps back and I'm the only one left there. So
standing forward.
All right, I'll do it.
All right, we got to wrap this up because I have an assignment for you.
Oh.
Or I'm hoping you'll raise your hand. I'll tell you about it later. It involves a cliff and Lake Superior. Meantime, watch for the Douglas County Story on Minnesota Bound this Sunday night following the news on KARE 11. This is the Minnesota Bound brand new podcast, The Story Behind the Stories. We sure hope you're enjoying it. We'll look for your feedback. And until next week, Aaron, what do we always say at the end of our shows?
Introduce a kid to the outdoors.
There you go.
And we mean it, so do it.